The bird with a kindly heart. Here's the prettiest bird story I think I have ever heard. It's about a little chaffinch that lived at the Saundersfoot in Pembrokeshire, Wales. Saundersfoot, by the way, is a little seaside village with just a few old-fashioned houses and a delightful stretch of sandy beach. A long lane running between flower-decked hedgerows separates it from the nearest railway station. I know, because I went there once in the search of a friend and found he had left 2 hours before I got there. I also missed that chaffinch, and of that I am more sorry still. One stormy day, not very long ago, this little bird, wearied perhaps by the wind, flew through an open window into one of the houses in the village. Now, it so happened that in the room was a little invalid girl, Kathleen by name, who was delighted to see her little visitor. She gave it some food and cared for it tenderly all night till the storm was over. Then, in the morning, the chaffinch flew away. But the next day, to Kathleen's surprise and delight, it returned, took some food, and flew away again. The next day, it did the same, and for quite a time, not a morning passed without the chaffinch coming for its breakfast. Then, one day, the visits ceased. Poor Kathleen thought the bird must surely have been killed. She waited and waited, keeping some food close to the window, but in vain. A week later, however, the chaffinch came back again, but with a wound in its little breast. Kathleen was very sorry for it and nursed it till it was well again, watching it eat from a tiny tray on her bed. They became fast friends. Then an extraordinary thing happened. One day, Kathleen's aunt came into the room while the little girl was asleep and saw a strange piece of pink ribbon lying on her hair. She wondered how it could have gotten there. Kathleen, when she awoke, said she knew nothing about it. As they were talking about it, what do you suppose happened? In through the open window flew the chaffinch with another little gift in its beak, this time a brightly colored piece of wool yarn. It dropped the yarn on the pillow and flew away. "Oh, you dear, kind-hearted little bird," cried Kathleen. "You're trying to say thank you." And as I heard the story, I thought of the master's words, "She hath done what she could." Sylvia's glasses. If there was one thing Sylvia hoped she would never have to do, it was to wear glasses. Secretly, she despised girls who had to wear them. She thought that glasses spoiled their looks and made them plain and homely. Many times, as she looked in the mirror at her own pretty features, she thought that to have to wear glasses would be the worst thing that could happen to her. Then one day, the blow fell. All joy vanished from her life. She thought she could never be happy again. Teacher had sent her home from school with a note saying that she should have her eyes tested. She was holding her books too close to her face. "Don't look so worried," said Mother, after she had read the note. "It isn't any trouble to have one's eyes tested, and it doesn't hurt you, you know." "But Mother," cried Sylvia, "you don't think I will have to wear glasses, do you?" "I couldn't. I simply couldn't." "Well, we don't know, do we?" said Mother. "Let's go and find out. That's the wise thing to do." So off they went to an optometrist. He was kind and gentle, and smilingly tested Sylvia's eyes with the wonderful instruments in his office. Sylvia had to admit that it didn't hurt at all, but her worry increased as he continued to put little pieces of glass in front of her eyes, asking whether she could see better with this or with that. All along, she had hoped that he would tell her that her eyes were perfectly all right or just a little tired, needing only a short rest. Now, here, he was trying glasses on her eyes as though she had to have them anyway. The examination completed, the optometrist turned to Mother and broke the news. "She certainly does need glasses," he said, "and she should have had them some times ago. I can have them ready for her in a few days. I'll contact you about them." Mother agreed and they left, with Sylvia trailing behind, her face red with anger. "I won't wear them, Mother. I tell you." "But Sylvia, you need them," said Mother gently. "They will help you so much. I believe you will be able to learn your lessons easier, and maybe you won't get so many headaches." "I don't care," said Sylvia. "I'd rather have headaches than wear nasty old glasses. They will make me look so old and homely." "Oh, you shouldn't be thinking about that," said Mother, smiling. "Your health is far more important than your looks. Anyway, you won't look too bad in glasses, Sylvia." But Sylvia was not to be comforted. She had made up her mind that she was going to hate glasses, that she wouldn't wear them, and that was that. "I wish I could get hold of the person who invented glasses," she said bitterly. "That would be rather difficult," said Mother. "You would have to travel a long, long way, hundreds of miles and hundreds of years. The Chinese are supposed to be the first to have worn them. Their great hero Confucius tells in his writing how he gave a pair to a poor cobbler. That was about 500 BC. Another story from China tells of a rich man who gave one of his finest horses for a pair of glasses around AD 1260. But those glasses may have been just ornaments." "Ornaments?" snorted Sylvia. "Fancy wearing the horrid things as ornaments." "Oh, many people have done that," said Mother. "But usually, of course, they're worn only as a help to the eyes. The man who gets the credit for the idea is Roger Bacon, who wrote about them in AD 1276, saying that they were useful to those who are old and have a weak sight." "But I'm not old," said Sylvia. "Not very," smiled Mother, "but evidently you do have a weak sight. But let me finish the story of glasses. The first maker of them in Europe is believed to have been an Italian called Salvino D'Armato of Florence. We know this because of the words on his tombstone in one of the big old churches in that city. Here lies Salvino D'Armato of the Amati of Florence, inventor of spectacles. God pardoned him for his sins, AD 1317. "His sins?" inquired Sylvia. "Making spectacles, maybe?" "No," said Mother, laughing, "not that. His work proved a great blessing to many people. For many years after that, spectacle making was a trade, like shoemaking or carpentry. Lenses were ground, fitted into frames, and sold on the streets. The buyer selected the pair that suited him. There were then no optometrists to test people's eyes as yours were tested. At last, the optometrist telephoned to say the glasses were ready. Sylvia and her mother went to his shop and carefully slipped the spectacles on the reluctant girl. At once, Sylvia noticed how clear everything was about her. She picked up a book and saw how easy it was to read. "Why, mother," she said, "these things makes everything different. All the world seems new." And the world was new to her. She had never seen it properly before. She had not realized what a burden she was carrying, nor what darkness she had been living in so long. So thrilled was Sylvia at the clear vision she now had that she actually forgot to look in the mirror. That is, for an hour or two. Then, when she did look, she had another surprise. "Why," she exclaimed, "I don't look so bad in them after all." Love, not war. Such a noise as there was in the backyard. You never heard anything like it. At least, I hope you never did. Bert and Bob had been playing Indians around the little summer house at the end of the lawn. Bob was dressed up as a chief with feathers he had saved from the chicken house, and Bert was supposed to be the white man trying to keep him from getting into the summer house. Then had come the quarrel. Bob said that Bert was dead because he had shot him with his bow and arrow, but Bert said that he wasn't dead and wasn't going to be dead for Bob or anybody else. "You're a cheat," cried Bob. "You're dead." "I'm not a cheat. I'm not dead," cried Bert. "You are. I'm not." "You are. I'm not." "I won't play anymore." "Don't play then. Play by yourself." Both boys got more and more angry, and presently Bob hit Bert on the nose. Then there was a tussle, in the midst of which a voice was heard from the dining room window. Come in, both of you," cried Mother. "I won't have this noise in the yard. What will the neighbors think of you?" Sullenly, the two boys walked toward the house. "It was his fault," said Bert. "Wasn't. It was Bert," said Bob. "You started it." "I didn't." "Never mind. Come along, both of you, and sit on these two chairs, and not a sound from either of you for the next quarter of an hour." Bob and Bert sat down at opposite sides of the room and glared at each other in silence. For when Mother said they were not to talk, she meant it. Very slowly, the minutes ticked away. The boys thought they had never sat still so long before. Just before the quarter of an hour was up, Mother came into the room again. "I'm going to tell you a little story," she said. Their faces brightened. "Many years ago," began Mother, "when Indians used to roam over the wide plains and forests in North America, there used to be terrible fights between them and the white people who were trying to settle in America. The Indians naturally felt that the country belonged to them and that the white people had no right to it, so they fought to keep what was theirs. Many of the white people were very cruel, and this only made matters worse. Then one day a man landed in America, determined to try a different method with the Indians. His name was William Penn, and he thought he would seek to make friends with them instead of fighting them. He told his people at home that he was going to give them perfect justice and show them all respect and friendliness. Of course, they laughed at him and said that he would be tomahawked and scalped in no time, but he kept his resolve. "Didn't he take a gun with him?" asked Bert. "Your silence period isn't up yet," said Mother. "Oh," grunted Bert, subsiding. "No, he didn't take a gun with him," Mother went on. "And soon after he arrived in the new country, he called all the Indians together because he wanted to talk with them. They came in large numbers, in all their war paint and carrying their arms. Probably they suspected a trap. Pan met them with a few friends, all unarmed. Then he talked to them as no white man had ever spoken to them before. "We must use no weapons against our fellow creatures," he said. "Good faith and goodwill toward men are our defenses. We believe you will deal kindly and justly by us, and we will deal kindly and justly by you. We meet on the broad highway of faith and goodwill. No advantage shall be taken on either side, but all shall be openness and love, for we are all one flesh and blood." After he had finished speaking, Pen pulled out of his pocket a piece of paper on which he had drawn up a treaty to be signed by the Indians and himself. He read it over to them, while they listened with astonishment. This is how part of the agreement read: "We will be brethren, my people and your people, as the children of one Father. All the paths shall be open to the Christian and the Indian. The doors of the Christian shall be open to the Indian, and the wigwams of the Indian shall be open to the Christian." Most of the white people who heard about it said Pen was foolish. But the Indian chiefs agreed to the treaty, gave Pen a pledge of good faith, and went away content. Time went on, and while in other parts of America there was constant fighting, in Pennsylvania, that part of the country which was named after Pen, there was peace. When Pen wanted land from the Indians, he bought it. He insisted that if a white man injured an Indian, he must be punished just the same as if he had injured a white man, and that the white people must not sell bad goods to the Indians when trading with them. Everybody had to give them fair play. "And wasn't he ever scalped?" asked Bob, with one eye on the clock. "No, indeed," said Mother. "The Indians loved him too much for that, and for 40 years no unarmed man was killed in Pennsylvania. So you see, by treating the Indians kindly, he won their friendship and kept peace. It's too bad that the whites in general didn't follow his example." Bob and Bert was fast cooling down now. "I suppose then," said Bert, "that I should make peace with the Indian over there." "It would certainly be a very nice thing to do," said Mother. "Time's up," cried Bob, looking at the clock again. And with happy smiles they both slid off their chairs and ran out into the yard.